Roll call. Teresa Hart,
Here.
Christopher Sloan, David Cooper,
Here.
Robert Wayne, Don Baddock,
Here.
Lady Claire Shonda, Virginia Gates.
Here.
We have a quorum. Good evening and welcome to the October 4th meeting of the Mount Lebanon Traffic Board. The Traffic Board is an advisory board to the Mount Lebanon Commission. The duties of the board are as follows: makes recommendations to the commission to improve traffic conditions, receives and investigates citizen requests pertaining to traffic and parking, recommends to the commission and manager the means to improve the administration and enforcement of traffic laws, reviews traffic regulations and controls, works with the traffic consultant in the preparation of traffic studies. To assist the board with our recommendations are the municipal traffic engineer, Mike Haberman, Gateway Engineers, and Corporal Nolte of the Mount Lebanon Police Department Traffic Service Unit. Traffic Board may only recommend action to the Mount Lebanon Commission and municipal manager. The board does not have the ability to approve requests related to traffic. Residents who wish to have a discussion item placed on the agenda for consideration by the board should submit the request in writing at least 1 week prior to the meeting to Lieutenant Scott Green with a brief description of the issue or request, and should attend the meeting that the issue will be discussed. Citizen comments will be taken following the introduction of each agenda item. If you wish to speak on a particular item, please come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. You will be provided 5 minutes to provide your comments. If a group of residents wish to speak on one particular agenda item, you may appoint a spokesperson if you so choose. If your comment or concern has been addressed by another speaker, you may simply come to the microphone, state your name and address, and indicate you are in agreement with that resident's comment. Each resident should be provided one opportunity to provide comment on each issue. If you are participating via Zoom and would like to comment, please click the raise hand button. You will be given 5 minutes to provide your comments. All comments or questions should be directed to the acting chairperson. The acting chairperson will request that the traffic engineer or Corporal Nolte will provide a response when appropriate. Recommendations for agenda items appearing under new business will be limited to further investigation and or data collection and placement on future agenda once the requested investigation and or data collection is complete. The municipality has adopted traffic calming policy. This policy and related frequently asked questions companion document are available online at mountlebanon.org. All right. Next order of business is to review the meeting notes from the September 6th traffic board meeting. And we'll need a motion to approve.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. All right, starting out with old business, item C, change to the no parking signage ordinance in front of Mecca on Washington Road to coincide with rush hour traffic Monday through Friday.
So just as follow up on this, this board recommended last month that those times be adjusted to be consistent with the rest of the corridor to the north. I have coordinated that with the municipal administration, and that change is going to take place administratively, so it doesn't even have to go to the commission. So I'm working with the manager and public works director now on getting that implemented. So moving forward, that one can come off the agenda, but I'll give you an update when it's implemented.
Any public comment? All right, item D, timer extension on crosswalk at intersection of Washington Road and Mayfair Drive. Patrick Burns from 145 Seneca was the initial resident.
I don't know if anybody's here to speak on this. No one was here last month. We did talk about that. We did evaluate this intersection, reviewed it. It does have a 3-second advanced pedestrian walk interval, which is consistent with the rest of the corridor through here. The Cochrane Road intersection does have an exclusive walk phase, mostly because of the school students and scattering in all different directions there. We did coordinate a little bit further with PennDOT on this. They did say that this is appropriate for this corridor and for this intersection to stay consistent, and for the type of traffic that we observed out here. So at this time, we're not making any recommendations for any changes there, but we'll certainly, keep an eye on it moving forward if anything's necessary.
Okay, thank you. Item E, speed hump painting crosswalk on lower portion of Old Hickory, flashing crosswalk lights, narrow the travel lanes, and remove double yellow lines on scrubgrass. From Stephen Antonelli, 780 Scrubgrass.
You want me to start? Typically,
yeah.
we hear from a resident first. They were here last month, as you're all aware.
Would you like to, we can do it, would you like to hear the engineer's report first and then we can do comment? Is that all right?
Yes.
Okay.
So I shared on the screen here the results of the preliminary data collection that we did. We collected speed and volume data at 2 locations on Scrubgrass, one between Cochrane and Elm Spring, and then one between Elm Spring and the one at the bottom of the hill. It's escaping my mind. You'll see the results on here. The Scrubgrass is classified as a collector road on the official municipal road maps. So it's posted to speed limit 25. So if you, it's not on this exhibit, but in my report, we kind of show the thresholds to qualify for points in the traffic calming, neighborhood traffic calming criterion procedures. Those criteria are 5,000 vehicles per day by direction, both directions combined. Greater than 500 vehicles in the highest hour, again, both directions combined, or 7 miles per hour, 85th percentile speed, 7 miles per hour or more than the posted speed limit. This table that's on here is showing the summary of those 2 locations. The ADT anywhere from 3,000 to 3,500, so that's below the 5,000. So there's no point value for the volume. Same thing with the peak hour volume. Bi-direction was around 200. It needs to be 500 to qualify for volume. But as you can see on the far right, the 85th percentile speeds ranged from 35 miles per hour. That was in the westbound direction at 650 Scrubgrass, and then a high of 39 miles per hour is the 85th percentile speed at in the eastbound direction at 736. So based on that, this neighborhood would qualify for points. The points are essentially one point for each mile per hour above the 7 miles per hour above. So at 25 miles per hour, anything above 32 would qualify. In this case, we have a 39, so it's 7 points. Again, the policy is 1 point, the neighborhood qualifies, and it doesn't really change whether it's 1 or 20 or 5. It does qualify for traffic calming, at least the next step in their procedure. So procedurally, if it's going to move forward for further investigation, then it would have to be a recommendation from this board based on this screening data to move into that next step of the process. And the next step is to have a neighborhood meeting, a special neighborhood meeting with the residents, the commissioner of that ward. You folks would obviously be invited. You can attend or not attend, it's up to you. But that would be the next step. And just to collect a little more information from the residents and establish the boundaries and the limits for the alternatives analysis. So that's where it's at.
Thank you. Do we have any public comment at this time?
Ready? Good evening. My name is Steve Antonelli, 780 Scrubgrass Road. I'll make these comments much more brief than my comments last month. First of all, I'd just like to thank the board and thank Gateway Engineers and Mr. Haberman for conducting the work that has been performed so far and so quickly. During our last meeting, I was asked if I could gather signatures, and I've done so, and I sent 2 different copies of a petition. A neighbor and I sort of divided our portion of the street in half. He went one way, I went the other way. So I have basically 2 different petitions that have been signed and have been submitted to Mr. Haberman. I don't know. I assume that okay, very well. Thank you very much. And so I was just going to offer to give at least 1 copy of those tonight, but I guess that's not necessary. I think those are all of my comments. I mean, obviously, we're very interested in a neighborhood meeting. I know that there would be considerable support for it, and I think a fair amount of turnout for it as well. But can I assume that would be here in this room, or?
That's where traditionally we've had.
Okay, great. And at that meeting, is that where we would talk about types of things that could be put into place, or next steps, or?
That would come to the meeting after we move forward with the one alternative analysis.
Sure.
We could certainly discuss some of the things that we look at.
Yeah.
There could be a little bit more information gathering from residents, maybe last month's meeting or didn't even know that this was going to be going on. So it would be a less intense meeting than the one after.
Okay. And then the last thing I would like to add for the record is that unfortunately, about 72 hours ago, we had another accident on the street, very similar to the one that happened involving our vehicle. This time it was further up, probably closer to 7:36. I think it was probably, I don't know, 7:20 or so. On Sunday evening, someone drove straight into the back of a parked car. And I don't know any of the details of it, other than that, from what I understand secondhand, is that, unfortunately, there were some minor injuries at least. But again, just the second such incident in a couple of months now. So, sorry to hear that, sorry to report that, but it was very similar to the incident that happened, with our vehicle. And the car that was hit in this instance, it was a pickup truck that was parked in front of a Bobcat that was in the process of doing some renovations to a nearby driveway. Had the car not been parked there, the motorist probably would have hit the Bobcat, which would have caused considerable more harm. So, not that there's anything lucky about that, but I think probably fortunate that the truck was there instead of the heavy equipment. So.
Were you there when it happened?
I was not there when it happened. I was actually on my deck, cooking dinner, grilling, and I heard it. And my neighbors had walked up to see what was going on. And they sent me some pictures and told me that the gentleman who was driving the car unfortunately had to be taken to the hospital, but they thought that it was a fairly, not a fairly minor, but I think it was a laceration to the head.
Was there, when you told us about your incident,
Yes.
it seemed like, excuse me, there was excessive speed involved. Was it the same? I mean, just guessing, just,
I don't know for sure. I mean, I heard a fair amount of skid marks or not skid marks, screeching.
okay,
So it seemed like there was, and I mean, I heard the crash from 20 houses down, I guess. But maybe 15 houses down. I actually counted. But I heard it, so I assumed there was a high amount of speed, and it was, the car that was hit. I mean, my car was a Subaru Outback, and this was an F-150 or something similar. So, there didn't seem to be as significant, that car wasn't pushed down the road and across the road like ours was. But it sounded to me like the vehicle was going at a pretty significant speed.
Thank you for your comments.
Of course. Thank you very much.
Mr. Haberman, for clarification, the points, is that just a prioritization tool?
Yeah.
Okay,
They're in the system, they have to qualify.
Okay.
Now steps, take the next steps.
in that case, I will go ahead and make a resolution. Is that what we're doing? Yeah. That we should follow through for the next steps for traffic calming on Scrubgrass.
Second.
All in favor?
aye,
All opposed? Right. All right, item F, sightlines and speed for Orchard, Nicole Parker, 365 Orchard Drive. We'll hear the comments again from the engineer first. If that's all right.
Neighborhood, another new item from last month. Quite a few residents from the neighborhood came with a series of concerns and issues that they wanted to point out. This board recommended that we take a closer look at some data and some existing conditions. We have begun that process, but with everything else that's going on, we have not completed it. What we have done so far is we were able to collect traffic data at the intersection of Orchard with Mount Lebanon Boulevard. So we have a handle on the volume that's there and how much is turning in and out of Orchard. At peak times, we collected over 6 different hours of the day. We wanted to use that data to take a look at, are the volumes high enough to start considering traffic signal? Are the volumes such that, stop signs might be warranted based on volumes on Mount Lebanon Boulevard? That's what that data was used for. quick look at that data and a review of some of those warrants, the volumes don't reach those thresholds for a signal or for adding stop signs on Mount Lebanon Boulevard. So that was kind of step one is there a quick thing here that we can look at that might solve some of these issues? Unfortunately, that answer is no. The next step, which we've already begun, is to do what we call that roadway safety audit. So we're evaluating everything, all of the signage, all of everything coming towards the intersection, through the intersection, up through Orchard, based on some of the comments we got last week. And we anticipate having that data and information compiled with any recommendations, if we have any, at next month's meeting.
How far away from the threshold for the stop sign warrant were we?
It's not even close.
Okay.
Yeah. Unfortunately, with the always stop volume warrants, the amount of traffic that actually has to come out the side, they almost have to be as high as the volumes that for a signal. So it becomes a little bit tricky. Typically, always stop in a municipality like this, you only reach the threat, reach one of the warrants is if you have some major sight distance issue where you can't pull out because you can't see. So we're still evaluating some of the other information.
Are there any citizen comments?
Jen Duval, 249 Parkway Drive. I was the one who came last month because I saw a young middle schooler almost get hit. And so right after the meeting, I was taking a walk down there and I walk over to the Foster area. And it was clear that I was waiting to cross Mount Lebanon Boulevard, and the car coming towards Washington Road saw me and stopped. And I stepped out, and the other car continued to come and actually did one of, like an FU kind of thing to me. And I went like this to the pedestrian sign. And then, I mean, he wasn't even going to stop. He just went. And we all have to be careful about that. We understand that. I'm not going to play chicken with a car. But then I took a long walk, and as I was coming back down Mount Lebanon Boulevard back to Mission Hills, I realized that almost all that signage was completely covered by trees. And so I contacted, are you the lieutenant that I contacted? So I contacted the lieutenant who's the liaison. And I think within a day, they cut back some of those trees, which was fantastic. I still strongly feel that there should be some sort of an indicator when there's someone ready to cross, like we have at Washington School. I did reach out to our PA representative's office, and they said that based on whatever this organization determines, they would be happy to look for some funding, because I understand that they helped with the Washington School funding, to help some funding. I just feel that the yellow signs that shows the walking person, I don't think it's enough to stop people who are going so quickly down Mount Lebanon Boulevard. And there's so many kids that use that as a crossover to Foster. So thank you for continuing to keep this on your radar.
Thank you for your comments. Any other comments?
I would just say that is the next step that we're evaluating all of that sign. Even
For my memory, Mount Lebanon Boulevard is 35 at that area. Okay.
Part of that's 25, I think, yeah.
Okay. And are we collecting speed data there as well? Okay. Can that be part of it, or is that?
I'm not gonna change the speed.
No. Just from like a traffic calming perspective, like would it help?
I'll ask them to.
Okay.
The neighborhood.
Right. Yeah, but I think it's the concern is Mount Lebanon Boulevard, so.
Yeah, I'll ask.
Thank you. We'll move on to new business. The first item is Sunset and at Jonquil stop signs. Ms. Rosenthal.
There, my name is Heidi Rosenthal. I live at 291 Jonquil Place. It's on the corner of Sunset. I've lived there 2.5 years, almost 3. And I guess I speak on behalf of several neighbors and friends in the neighborhood that I've gotten to know. It's on the Sunset Hill side, just the how students would be crossing. There is a blind hill, I would say, I don't know the proper traffic terminology, at that corner, and people do pick up speed because there's, stop signs on on Jonquil sides, but not on the Sunset corner. So it's a four-way intersection with two stop signs. I think that creates a couple of challenges for the students to cross. And we're far enough from the school that we don't have any crossing guards at that spot. I just wondered, kind of a consideration to see what could be done to improve, whether it be a stop sign or crosswalks. There are 9 kids under the age of 11 that cross on that corner daily, 4 of which are under the age of 4 years old. There are boys that are friends crossing frequently, just even for play dates. So I'm always on the lookout watching. So since I've been there, I think I've personally heard or known about 2 or 3 accidents, one of which was the reason I was prompted to call about 2 or 3 weeks ago, speaking to Lieutenant Green. We've had mirrors sideswiped also on parked cars. So it does seem people pick up speed or are negligent to the passings of cars, or it's not too tight of a street, but I think it's just that speed that they gain as they're hitting the flat spot, and then there's no stop in between the 2 streets, so they must just pick up. So at night you hear a lot of cars with excessive speeds at night. So pretty high volume, pretty heavy traffic. I just wanted to put it on your consideration list for improvement so that we don't find ourselves with an accident with small children there.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there any other public comment on this item?
Same thing we always talk about, the always stops. We'll get the crash data, see if there's anything down there. Take a look to see if there's things like fire issues.
Is speed data included in that as well, or is that's a down, pretty big down, right? Yeah. Okay.
The only time we really get into speed data is petition.
Okay.
Follow that process. Now, if this board wanted us to collect speed data through some other mechanism, then I think that's
Would it be possible for you to collect signatures? And so that would basically go to Lieutenant Green, and then that will trigger that portion of it. So we can look at safety, sightline issues, those kind of things, crash data, but doing the actual, like, putting the speed sensing devices down would have to require signatures from neighbors. So if you could organize, I think there's a form on the website that you can follow. Yeah.
That's something.
Come up.
Or can you, because I think that's one of the biggest problems with kids trying to cross, is they think they have the time and they don't.
So what I'm suggesting to the board is, this board says relevance that we're doing. The only mechanism we have now is the petition through the neighborhood and traffic management.
Okay.
So we're gonna go outside of that procedure based on discussion here. This board can ask me if we put our speed data. I can't say yes until I talk to the commission.
Okay.
So if this board says we need to put speed data, then I'll take that next step, and I'll say the board needs to put speed data.
And if you need me to collect signatures, I will, but.
I would-
At this point.
Okay. This is on the 11th.
I know, so I get it. In order to be able to look at that.
Okay, thank you.
Do we want to request speed for Mount Lebanon Boulevard?
That's not relevant.
I think in this situation, it's appropriate.
If we can request that. Yeah. All right, the next item is Coolidge at Bower Hill sightline issues. Ms. Lynch?
My name is Anna Lynch and I'm at 410 Coolidge Avenue and I'm speaking on behalf of other residents of Coolidge Avenue. So I have the petition signed already and all of our neighbors agreed that it's a dangerous intersection and impossible to see left and therefore drive safely at the intersection of Coolidge and Bower Hill. And we just believe that trimming those bushes or removing the bushes entirely at that intersection would improve visibility, less accidents and therefore safety. And if you do a study, we would like someone, a man or a woman that is around 5 foot tall and not someone that's 6 foot tall. Because
Good point.
a lot of us are smaller. If you're doing a sightline study, so I,
Oh, so the sight lines from a vehicle.
right,
Always measured at the height of
Ah.
6.5 feet.
okay,
So that pretty much takes into account, I don't know what's appropriate to say nowadays, but an elderly person. in a
Okay.
Low riding car.
okay,
And then 3.5.
all right,
That's what we're-
Okay.
for the guy in the pickup.
right, okay, thank you. And who would I give this study to, or the petition?
To,
Do you have a copy of it? So. what I- Can you need a copy or just scan it?
And for our clarification on this one, so this would involve property owner bushes. I can personally attest, this is a terrible place to try and turn either direction. So is that like, what's the process for that?
Since this is new, I'd like to say,
Sure,
we'll look at it. and
Yeah.
I'll come back to you.
absolutely.
What do we find?
Okay, great. Yeah,
I mean, I can-
sorry. Sounds good. Yep.
Our neighbors watch my kids, so I didn't have to bring them. And this is just so that we don't get too far away from the Mount Lebanon Boulevard Orchard sort of situation. I know we talked about Mount Lebanon Boulevard as I was walking in, but I didn't know if you had any information now just on Orchard by itself, because I think we were treating them as two separate items, right? Because one's the state road and one's the municipal street. So I just wasn't sure if there was any information there. I know that we talked about the rumble strips basically being nil now because they've been several years out being replaced. And I just wasn't sure if you had any further information on that.
So far they've been able to do basically turn analysis
Okay.
to and from Orchard, and the
Right.
rest will be the safety audit will be ongoing.
Okay, so things like picking up speed coming down the hill and that kind of business. Okay, just making sure. Thank you.
Any other items on the Coolidge Bower Hill? Public comment on that? Okay, any new items from the floor? Okay.
Okay, motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second. Need a second.
Oh,
All right,
okay.
all right. Thank you very much. We will reconvene in November.
Seems so.